that case, welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Employment Committee. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. For clarity, voting is only permitted by members who are present in the room. Any member joining the meeting remotely is able to participate in the debate but not able to vote. Other than that, the usual rules apply. Are there any apologies?
Yes, I've received apologies from Councillor Wade and Councillor Neal.
Thank you. I can see the members of the committee who are in attendance and their names will be recorded in the minutes. Please can the clerk confirm if any members who are joining remotely and if those members can confirm their attendance when Hannah calls your name.
Yes, I've got Councillor Porter.
Present.
And I've also got Paul Tatum.
Present.
Thank you very much. The full text for declarations of interest is set out on the agenda. If any member has a disclosable pecuniary interest or an affected interest to declare, please indicate in the meeting's chat or put your hand up and I will come to you in turn. I'm seeing no declarations, so thank you. There are no declarations, but may I remind everyone that you can make a declaration at any time should it occur to you at a later point. Anyone declaring a disclosable pecuniary interest will need to leave the meeting when we get to that relevant item. The next item on the agenda is consideration of any urgent items. Are there any?
No, none notified, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 4 is asked to approve the minutes from the meeting of the on the 8th of July 2020, if anyone can remember that far back. Any comments on the minutes? In that case, can I propose they're accepted as a true record? Does it have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you, Ian. Okay. That's all those in favour done. Right, okay, in that case we shall confirm the minutes. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is to review and agree the updated procedures for the organisation change policy for schools. Paul, would you like to present this item?
Yes, indeed, I will do, Chair. Just reflecting on those minutes, actually, that was just at the beginning of the COVID period, wasn't it? So it's just a reflection of that time when we had a number of challenges in our schools about some of the workforce challenges being provided. So it's quite an interesting read, taking a step back to that period. I think Natasha Palin may well also be on this call. Natasha is the school's HR manager, and we are going through a review of the school's policies at the moment, of which the 2 that we're presenting today are updated policies, of which we want to take forward for any discussion or any questions from committee, with the recommendation that they can be approved and shared with schools. The first policy we're looking at is the organisational change policy. And I just invite Natasha if you wanted to add any comments about any of the changes that have been implemented as a result of this update.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So this has Paul outlined. The organisational change policy has been updated. So it was last updated in 2021. No, at the beginning of this year. Sorry, just 1 second. Just getting up my notes here. Sorry, colleagues, just bear with me. I'm just trying to load something.
Do you want me to help you out there, Natasha?
Yes, please, sorry.
The organisational change one was updated in 21 without any
Thank
sort
you.
of minor change, only very minor changes. But this is just a sort of fundamental review to make sure that we've incorporated everything that we need to as far as our employment relations responsibilities are concerned. Other than that, I don't think there was anything significant coming from this. We have gone through the process of consultation with our schools and trade union colleagues through the Teachers Association and Support Staff Association, and any comments received have been applied to the updated policy. Unless there's anything you would like to add, Natasha, then I'm quite happy to invite anybody for any questions on that or on the organisational change policy.
No, Paul, that's everything. Thank you.
Right, if you don't mind, I'm going to take chairman's privilege and actually ask a question of Paul first. I was quite surprised to hear that it was updated in 2021 because it didn't come to this committee then. So why is it coming now and didn't come last year?
Yes, Chair. The update was just a couple of changes to wording rather than anything significant. Anything significant on any policy development would come back to Education Employment Committee for schools.
So have we actually, I haven't actually heard what the significant changes are.
What, for this particular policy?
Yes.
Okay. 1 second, Chair.
I mean, it's quite useful with these things to have a track change type, agenda or something, but we haven't actually seen that. So it makes it very difficult to know what changes have been made.
1 second. I think just looking at paragraph 5.3, the changes to this is just the updated the steps of the policy in terms of consultation has just been updated. So there isn't anything significant on this, Chair, to be highlighting for you, but it's just clearer in terms of roles and responsibilities and the stages should we need to go through a redundancy process in schools. But the point you make is noted, and then in future what we'll do is actually provide either a listing of the changes on the covering report, or the track changes. The track changes can sometimes be a bit confusing, so I'd rather avoid that if we can, but we would certainly do it as a list on the covering report.
Can you just clarify, you say at paragraph 5.3, is that the one in the supporting information on page 7? Or the one in the actual policy itself?
That's in the supporting covering report.
Right, okay, thank you. Ian, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. You've asked part of it. I suppose what was standing behind is that, bearing in mind it was apparently updated or revised or amended 12 months ago, is there anything specific that's triggered the requirement to make these further changes? And that would apply, my question would apply to both the agenda items.
Yes. In terms of the that question, Ian, there's the second policy is a brand new policy, so that that is very clear that there isn't anything significant. Well, there was not any changes to apply there because it is a new policy. This particular policy, there wasn't anything as a result of this apart from when we go through the process with schools, the questions we were getting from the HR team in terms of clarification. So those bits have just been clarified and updated in the report to make it easier to read for our head teachers when they're actually proceeding with the organisational change policy.
Thank you.
Lizzie.
Thank you. Having joined the committee since it last met in 2020, I'd be interested to know whether we provide HR support just to LA maintained schools, or do any of our local academies also buy in this service?
That's a particularly pertinent question at this moment in time. We provide HR services to all of our schools, all of our maintained schools, and to a number of the academy chains in Bracknell Forest. The ones that we don't provide HR services to are the ones that are on external academy chains that have already got HR support built in. So the likes of King's Academy and the schools that transferred over to Greenshaw, we do not provide those services. And I would add, when schools are going to those academy chains, then there is a bit of reluctance that they are no longer going to be continuing with our HR services, because I will use this opportunity to say that the school's HR service is actually identified very on top of the list of all of these support services that we provide to schools, and scores very highly in terms of the services that we provide.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There don't appear to be any hands online, so in that case, can we go to the recommendation on page 7 that propose that CMT review and agree the updated procedures for the organisation change policy for schools. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Leake. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 6, to agree the procedures for the low-level concerns policy for schools. Paul, again, you're presenting this.
Okay, likewise for this one, I'll give a very brief introduction, and I'll ask Natasha to add a couple of points on this. This is in reference to, this is a brand new policy for schools, and it actually arises from the statutory duty under the formal document of keeping children safe in education policy from the DFE. Natasha, I will pass this one over to you, because I know you've been heavily involved in the production of this and the reasons behind, and give a quick overview of our responsibilities, please.
Thank you, Paul. So as Paul said, this is being developed on the back of the 2021 Keeping Children Safe in Education regulations, KICSI. This is not a investigation or a formal process itself. It basically sets out what schools need to do where low-level concerns are raised. So how to record them, report them, investigate, and where necessary, report them to the local authority designated officer, the LADO. So this has been as we said, developed in line with KICSI 2021, whereby there's a legal requirement, statutory requirement to have a policy in place to record low-level concerns. So what this policy does is it provides examples of what will amount to low-level concerns, how to record low-level concerns, and how to escalate low-level concerns to the formal internal processes, such as disciplinary investigation, or to make a referral to LADO to investigate.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Lizzie.
I'm very pleased to see this policy. I think it's so important, both in terms of protecting children and continuing professional development for our staff, to ensure that, you know, they're not subconsciously perhaps promoting behaviour that could lead to a child being at risk of grooming outside of the school environment, for example. What I didn't notice in there was what happens when multiple of these minor concerns have been raised, perhaps about a single member of staff. At what point does multiple low-level concern escalate into being a pattern that might be up from the amber box into the red?
Thank you. So that will depend on, like you said, identifying common trends. So red flagging, in other words. So obviously that depends on a case-by-case basis and the frequency of low-level concerns. But when one concern is raised, you record that, you investigate, or schools should be recording that and investigating. If there's a second incident of the same nature, again, that will then warrant a further investigation, and in response to your question, that will then transition into amber. So again, the onus is on schools to monitor the levels of behaviour and to carry out a full investigation, and where necessary report it to the relevant officers.
Thank you.
Ian.
In view of what's contained in the policy and what you have just said, what is the linkage, if any, between this and any disciplinary process?
So like I said, this is not a procedure or a policy per se. It's more about how to record low levels, and the emphasis is on low level concerns. So these are concerns that have been flagged and do warrant investigation, but monitoring that and identifying any trends, any frequencies of such low level concerns. So this is more about how to record low-level concerns and to then use that as evidence to then proceed to a formal disciplinary, or to make a referral to the LADO.
I understand what you say. I'm just, if I must be truthful, I'm a little bit concerned, because following on from what Councillor Gibson said, there's obviously a point at which something that happens or needs to be recorded here, whether it's repeated minor or whether it's something a little bit above minor, but for some reason is still treated as a low-level concern, there has to be a point at which that is listed, or could potentially be listed, as a disciplinary matter. And it therefore seems to me that if I was looking with an independent mind at this, and particularly in a school situation, if we were looking at the possibility of legal proceedings, then I would want to be assured that there was some linkage and coherence between the two, because otherwise I could see large legal loopholes appearing.
So first of all, the examples of low-level concerns illustrated in the policy that you've got before you, that's a non-exhaustive list. Secondly, we believe that there is a clear linkage, because if a concern is raised, that is then investigated, and it's found that actually this amounts to serious misconduct, in which case the internal disciplinary process will obviously be triggered.
Before Paul,
Yeah, it's just reinforcing Natasha's point that there is a clear link here with the disciplinary procedure. The disciplinary procedure has been in place for a number of years, where allegations are identified through these low-level concerns. Then this isn't kept as a separate policy on one shelf. This actually is adjoined to the disciplinary procedure. Should there be a number of low-level concerns that are raised that hit the benchmarks here, they will be investigated under the school disciplinary procedures. This policy actually is standing alongside the disciplinary process to ensure that there are systems in place to deal with what may well not have previously reached the disciplinary purposes or remit, but this will actually be there. So it is supplementing the disciplinary process. It certainly doesn't remove the requirement for schools to consider actions under the school disciplinary procedures.
Thank you for that. The only comment I would make, and it's obviously not for decision now, but I really do think that the disciplinary policy may wish to refer to this, because I could easily see a situation arising where, in a worst case scenario, and disciplinary action was taken, there could well be an argument that nothing had been raised before under the disciplinary process, whereas if this was linked to it, then while it might not be part of it, it could be referred to. And I just, having dealt with these situations a number of times over the years, there does need to be a clear linkage between the two, just in case something does go catastrophically wrong.
Yes, Paul.
Part of the policy reviews are looking at those procedures anyway. I think I would I said settle the employment committee. Conscious on this is that the procedure as it stands at the moment captures any safeguarding issue. But I think the point you make is right in that the update will actually include direction and quote of this particular policy, so there is a linkage there. But in terms of where we're talking about conduct, it is already in there in terms of responsibilities to deal with safeguarding matters. This reinforces it, so this makes it stronger. So the current arrangements are in place, but that is part and parcel of the disciplinary procedure, is one of the future updates for the policy review anyway, and we will certainly add reference to this particular policy in that document.
Just a point from me. So can I just clarify? So in this, one of the things this document does is formalise what we currently don't do, or may not be doing at the moment. So if a member of staff spots another member of staff, making some inappropriate comment, rather than just, tailing them off or whatever, they have to document it. So, and that may not previously have happened.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I wanted to point out was on paragraph 5.2, it actually states, in preparing these updated procedures. Now, you're saying this is a new one, so I think you need to clarify that it's not actually an update. It's a new one, because the first thing I thought when I read that was, well, what was the old one like? So.
Yeah, you're correct there, Chair. That's just a misspelling on that one in terms of the general updates we're doing, but this is a brand new procedure.
Thank you, Lizzie.
And with this being a new procedure, at what point would this come into force, for a better word?
Formally, as soon as it's recommended from here, it will be shared with schools for schools to adopt at their next governing body meeting. The responsibilities are there already. This provides the absolute clarity in terms of the expectations for schools to do it and to record it on file. So formally, it will be sent to schools after this meeting.
Can I just clarify that, because it says the recommendation is that CMT review and agree it before it goes.
For confirmation, it's Education Employment Committee that agrees this rather than CMT. So again, that is just an update for the word. The CMT no longer looks at school procedures. The final decision maker on any school procedures is Education Employment Subcommittee.
So does that mean the recommendation is wrong, that we need to change the recommendation?
The recommendation should read Education Employment Committee review and agree rather than CMT. CMT don't have a part to play in this.
Was that the same for the previous item?
Yes, it was. Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much for that.
Are we able to document those changes and still vote on it tonight for it to be binding?
Absolutely, yes.
In that case, what I'm going to do is I think there are no comments online, are there? So there's no hands up. So in that case, can I propose the recommendation that a modified recommendation at 2.1 that the Education Employment Subcommittee agree the procedures forget the review, we've done that. Agree the procedures for the low-level concerns policy for schools.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Agreed.
All those in favour? Done. In that case, do we need to go back to the previous one and change the wording?
Yeah, let's just do that just for.
In that case, I'll go back to the previous 2.1, which was essentially the same, but with a different policy name. Let's go back to it. So going back to the 2.1 on page 7, the recommendation or the proposal in that case was modified to be that the employment subcommittee agree the updated procedures for the organisation change policy for schools. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried as well. I think that's the last item on the agenda, is it not? In that case, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance this evening. I'll probably see you all later at the Employment Committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can you take us offline, please?